Page 46, Mexican Hat Dance. I'm not going to try and say that other name and forget that. I'm trying to speak English and that's it. This piece is it's 2.5 pages long. It's on 3 pages in this book. And your page numbers might be different than mine. So I'm going to refer to this as first page, second page, and third page when I'm talking about it. And you'll have to figure out which page that is. Because if I say page numbers, that's not going to match what you have if you have a different book. So let's look it over. Treble and bass clef, no sharps or flats in the key signature. We're either in C major or A minor. It's probably a little bit of both. Just make sure you can do both scales, C major and A minor, and you ought to be doing them 2 octaves up and down by now. 6/8 times so an eighth note gets a count. Let's go. We've got eighth notes all over the place, so okay. I want to take it one hand at a time. I have some fingering suggestions. The beginning is 5. We're coming in on a pickup beat. We're coming in on beats 5 and 6. If you look around, you'll probably find another measure, like at the end of the second or end of the first line there on the second page. That's got 4 counts in it. That's the first 4 counts. It's in different sections. It's in 3 different sections. The first section is the first 3 lines. The second section is the next 3 lines. And the next section is the next 2 lines or so. And then the last section would be the last 3 lines. So it's actually in 4 sections. So when you start practicing or trying to learn a longer piece of music, I recommend you do it a section at a time. And it would actually be helpful if you'd start with the last section and do it first and work your way backwards through it, because the tendency will be to practice it from the beginning at every time. So the beginning you get good at, but you don't always get through it. So as you go through into it more and more, you get worse and worse and worse. So you got to break it up, do it a section at a time, and get one section really good before you go to the next section. And then when you're practicing that section, put the other section aside. You'll have to keep playing it. You won't forget it that soon. You'll be all right. Just work on the one section at a time until you get through it all, and then you can go put it all together. For this lesson, I'm just going to go through it. Right hand here. So it's 5, 6, 1. 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. Come. Lift up and come down. If you can do the scales, this should be pretty easy to do. Now, second page, second line here. I want to use different fingers on these repeated notes. A couple of reasons. One is it's a little safer, especially if you get nervous, because you'll tense up and the notes may not play because you're tense. Using different fingers helps with that. It also helps to keep you relaxed, because I can use different fingers on a repeated note and stay relaxed, whereas one finger, I tense up. Oh. So on the second line here, I'm going to do a 3, 1, 3, 3, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 3. Reach up, same thing, 3, 1, 3, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1. Each one is the same. I'm just going to do this either a 3, 1, 3 or a 1, 2, 1 combination. I'm just going back and forth. So in the third line down, in the last measure, I don't get quarter notes anymore. I'm just going to keep alternating. I just kept alternating between 3, 1, 3 on all these notes. And then I ended up here. That's fine. I mean, the fingering of the book is okay if you'd like, but I prefer to use different fingers on the repeated notes. Now on the third page, it becomes even more important because it's going to get going fast eventually. But here at the beginning, it's not fast. It'll be slow. But again, I'm going to do for the 2 eighth notes and quarter note combination. Those 3 notes, it's going to be 3, 1, 3. So it's a 3, 3, 1, 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 3, 2. So 3, 3, 1, 3, 3, 1, 2. So I'm using different fingers. That for the first 2 lines, and then the end of it, it's not a problem, just so forth. And the last line at the bottom, the notes are here, but you have an 8 VA, you got to come up here. And they want two, no. So to prepare this, on the last two measures, they want a 2-1 here. To prepare for that, to measure before instead of, because I don't want a 2 here. So I'm going to do thumb on that last note. Now I'm ready for 2 here. There's other fingerings we could use, but this works, so okay. Left hand's just broken chords. Second line, second measure, 5/7 chord. Second page, second line, 1 sharp now. We went in the key of G major. On the third page, we went into the key of F major, 1 flat. Boom, 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 just rotating here, transferring weight from finger to side. Then in the last, or the third line down, we're back into C major. So once you have an idea what each hand is up to, then try putting them together very slowly. Here, like so. Second page, second line, where you're doing this. Just take it real slow. This is slow to me. You can go slower than that. And the third page here. So we went into 4/4 time here. I didn't tell you, but it is. We're going to finish it in 4/4 time. And just as well as explain it, when you change time signatures, we went from 6/8 to 4/4. There needs to be something in most cases. There are always exceptions. Forget the exceptions. In most cases, there needs to be something common, constant between the different time signatures. Here, it's going to be the speed of the eighth notes. So the eighth notes at the beginning was 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, bum, bum, bum. That's the speed these are going to go. 1 and 2 and 1 and. So the speed of the eighth notes is going to remain the same. That's constant here. And that's what sort of ties them together. It kind of feels like to the listener, you did a totally different speed here. You just changed speeds, but yet it works because the pulse, the feeling is the same. The eighth note feel is the same, except here we're feeling quarter notes. So we're feeling every 2 eighth notes, but it's still the same. Now when you get down to the bottom, let's take the last measure, the 4th line. This is the last page. You're here. During the rest, the right hand comes up here. The left hand doesn't move. It stays right there. Right there. The left hand doesn't move until the last measure. When you're up here, both hands move because the 8VA went away in their upper staff, so now you're here. Both hands gotta move. You got 1 beat rest to do it in. Good luck. You may have to practice that. I don't like moving both hands at the same time. Sometimes we have to, and here we have to. Just know where you are and where you need to be. Which fingers are involved. You work on that. Now once you have the hands working together, and no hesitations anywhere, and you can think about the articulation. For the most part, we're going to connect this. You have to lift up for the rest. And the left hand is chuck chuck. I connect this, but not the chuck chuck, chuck chuck. Okay. You don't have to go chuck chuck. You'd rather disconnect them all. It's different ways of interpreting the music. You decide how you want to do it, or your teacher will decide for you, and that's the way you do it. Now when you get to the 3rd page, this is, again, you're going to connect this as best you can. The repeated notes you can. Don't accent that, just short. Here. The left hand, you have a choice. Connect them or disconnect them. Nothing's marked. Do what you want. But in the third line down, you get accents. Now I want to just separate these notes just a hair of separation between them. And then the next line down, it's staccato. In the left hand, you decide what you want. You can connect them or disconnect them. It's up to you. Connect them. I think it probably in this case it sounds better to disconnect them. Keep it on a bouncy light side. Yeah. And once I get an idea of the articulation, then I think about the dynamics. It applies to the melody, which is the right hand. The left hand needs to stay in the background. Forte at the beginning, loud. And as you do this, you're going to go down to about a moderately loud, so just go down a little bit. And then go back. So you might go down to a moderately softer. In the left hand, you got to keep it in the background. So you put in the dynamics. On the second page, second line, first time it's moderately loud. When you repeat it, then it's soft. The left hand stays in the background. On the third page, you're loud. Left hand's in the background. Third line down, you're still loud, but with accents makes them very loud. And you're finishing it loud. Or very loud, depending on if you have accents or not. And then the fermata at the very end, just hang on to that a little extra longer. Not a lot extra longer, just a little, maybe a couple, 3 beats is it. Then the roadmap. When do I go where? My opinion, you could get away with just playing the whole thing straight through. But they've got repeat signs and things, so let's talk about them. At the top of the first line, on the second page, the end of the line, you get a repeat sign. That sends you back to the beginning because there's no reverse repeat sign. Okay, so then you're going to do all that again. Then you go on, you get down to the bottom of the page, and it says a DC all sign, then next page. Is that fun or what? Well, the DC, first off, you got a repeat sign, so you got to do that first. The repeat sign comes first. There's a reverse repeat sign at the beginning of the second line. Now, I'm on the second page here. So we're going to do those 3 lines again, and then after the second time we do them, then we do the DC, which means go back to the beginning, and we go to the sign, which is a circle with the crosshairs in it, and that is at the end of the first line on the second page. So we go back and do the first 3 lines again, and then when we get to the sign, we do the next page. So you're jumping from the first line of the second page to the third page. Now when you get to the third page, there's a note at the top. Begin very slowly and gradually speed up to the end. We have to be careful because if you don't plan it out, you'll be going full speed ahead by the end of the second line. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to be going full speed ahead until the last couple of lines or so. And the third line is repeated. It's surrounded by repeat signs. You can play that line twice. So I'm going allegro moderato at the beginning. It's sort of feel it. And remember the natural accents? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. We just kind of feel it in 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, when I get to the third page and it goes into 4/4 time, I'm going to slow it way down here. I'm going to stay. Maybe just like a line at a time, I speed up just a hair. The third line is. Speed up just when I repeat it. next line is a little faster. Now you're fast. There, and that's what makes this last little bit so difficult, because it's so fast. Pretty much have to memorize it. Because you're here and then here. Because it just moves. However, accuracy is more important in my opinion. Not everybody agrees with that, but I'm telling you, please be accurate. Don't go faster than accurate. Please don't copy me. You get into the music and you make it yours. You don't have to play it that fast. You don't have to play it that loud or whatever. You make it yours. There is a page turn. We got to deal with that. So how do you do the page turn without messing up the beat? Well, ideally, you memorize it. Or at least memorize page 48. Otherwise, you get somebody to turn the page for you. Otherwise, you got to do it yourself. Well, that's a problem. Because both hands are busy. What are we doing? So what you might have to do is at the top of the second page here, right after you play that, you may have to let go. Play it more like an eighth note and turn the page while you're doing that. Give it a little bit of time to turn the page. And then a couple of rests, which go by real quick. And then you can do it. Just about my only suggestion is because if you have to, you practice the page turn. I do all the time. Especially when accompanying people, I practice page turns because I got to stay, so do that. But work on it so that you get that page turned without messing up the beat. If you have to leave out notes, you have to, but don't leave out any more notes than you have to, and don't leave out the melody notes. Play the melody notes. The accompaniment you might have to leave out. Let's play this together very slowly to check our notes and rhythms. On the 6/8 time, the metronome is beating eighth notes. And on the 4/4 time, the metronome is beating quarter note. So I'm really going to take the third page twice as fast as the first two pages, because if I take it all the same speed, that third page is just going to drag. So let's do this. I'll give us 4 counts because we come in on beat 5. Now because there's a page turn in here and I can't do page turns in the play with me, we're going to do the first 2 pages and I'm going to stop. And I'm going to count us in 4 full counts because we're going to be in 4/4 time on the last page. And we'll do the last page. Now I'm going to adjust the metronome here so the last page is going to be the beat is going to be a little slower because the metronome's going to be beating quarter notes. So it's actually going to be faster. Now if that isn't confusing, what is? But just follow along, you'll be fine. 1, 2, ready, go. turn the page. 1 and 2 and ready and go. And 1 and. Rest. 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 Repeat. Rest. 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 Rest.